Okay, so we've all gotten pretty good at talking to AI, right? Crafting that perfect prompt to get exactly what we want. But what if I told you that clever command you just wrote is really only scratching the surface? Today we're diving into something called context engineering, and trust me, it's the real key to unlocking an AI's true, reliable potential.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll look at why even the best prompts sometimes fail. Then we'll get right into it. What is context engineering? After that, we'll break down 4 core strategies you can actually use, explore the huge payoffs, and finally, we'll get real about the challenges and limitations.
All right, let's jump right in. Section 1, moving beyond the prompt. We're going to start with a feeling I'm sure you've had, that moment of frustration when an AI just doesn't get it.
You know that feeling, right? You're in a great flow with your AI assistant, it's just firing on all cylinders, giving you amazing stuff, and then, out of nowhere, it gives you an answer that is just completely bizarre. It makes no sense. It's a super common experience, and yeah, it's incredibly frustrating. Now, your first instinct might be, okay, I just need to write a better prompt. But the real answer, the real breakthrough is much bigger than that. It's not about writing a better command, it's about building a better world for the AI to think in.
And that idea, building an information world, that brings us right to the heart of this. So what exactly is context engineering?
To put it simply, context engineering is the art and science of designing that entire information ecosystem. You're shifting from being someone who just gives a single command to being the architect of the AI's entire workspace. You're strategically laying out all the data, all the rules, and all the tools it's going to need to actually succeed at a task.
So when we say context, what are we really talking about? Well, it's everything the AI model gets to see right before it gives you a response. This includes those high-level system instructions like act as a friendly tutor, your specific prompt, the entire chat history, any external documents or data you fed it, and even the tools it can use like a web search or a calculator. Think of it like a chef's countertop. You have to put all the right ingredients out in front of them if you want them to cook a masterpiece. That's the context.
And this table really highlights the huge difference between what we're used to, prompt engineering, and this new approach. Prompt engineering, that's like writing one clever line for an actor. But context engineering, that's like setting the entire stage, giving them the script, the props, the backstory, everything. We're moving away from simple one-shot tasks and toward designing complex AI agents that can handle really sophisticated workflows.
Okay, so that's the what. Now let's get into the how. How do you actually do this? Let's break down the 4 core strategies that make up the context engineering toolkit.
The first strategy is right. This is all about setting up a stable foundation, a solid base of knowledge for the AI. You're creating and saving crucial info outside of the immediate back-and-forth chat. This means things like really clear system prompts that define the AI's permanent role, giving it a sort of digital scratchpad to jot down its own plans, and maybe most importantly, providing a few perfect examples of a great output so it knows exactly what success looks like.
Next up is select. Now, an AI's short-term memory is pretty limited, so you can't just dump everything on it at once. This strategy is all about dynamically pulling in only the most relevant information for the task at hand. The star player here is a technique called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG. This is where the AI fetches data from a trusted knowledge base to ground its answers in facts, which stops it from just making things up. It's all about precision, giving the AI a scalpel, not a sledgehammer.
Strategy number 3 is compress. That memory space, the context window, is finite, and every single piece of information, every token, costs money. So efficiency is absolutely key. It's kind of like packing a suitcase for a trip. You can't take your whole closet. So you summarize long conversations, you prune away irrelevant details, and you can even use something called linguistic compression to say more with fewer words. Think of it like turning the data from the first quarter of the fiscal year into just Q1 data. It saves space and money.
And our final strategy is separate. This is so important when you're building complex systems with multiple AI agents or tasks that have many steps. You have to keep them from stepping on each other's toes. This means creating clean boundaries, giving different tasks their own isolated context, separating short-term chat memory from long-term user preferences, and making sure an AI only has access to the exact tools it needs for a specific step. This keeps everything organized and prevents a whole lot of confusion.
So, we have the strategies. But why go to all this trouble? Why is this approach such a game changer? Let's get into the power and the payoffs.
And the payoffs are huge. By grounding the AI in actual data, you slash those weird, nonsensical hallucinations. By giving it a memory of your history, you enable true hyper-personalization.
You empower it to tackle complex workflows, create conversations that actually feel continuous and natural, and, as you're about to see, you can save a ton of money.
And I mean a ton of money. The efficiency gains can be staggering. Get this, techniques like prompt caching, which basically means the system remembers the context of a big document instead of rereading it over and over again, can cut your operational costs by up to 90%. That is not a small improvement. That is a complete game changer. But of course, it's not a magic wand. To get the full picture, we have to talk about the real-world challenges and the limitations of this whole thing.
Yeah, this is a real engineering discipline, not just a simple trick. And the core challenge, as this research points out so well, is that context isn't just a technical problem you can solve with code. It's fluid, it's social, it changes over time. And trying to build a system that can model something so fundamentally human, well, that's a massive task.
And that core challenge leads to some very real hurdles. For one, finding that perfect balance of information is tough. Giving the AI too much context can be just as bad as giving it too little. All the real-time processing this requires can be slow and computationally expensive. And there's this fascinating thing researchers call the asymmetry gap. The models have become brilliant at understanding incredibly rich, complex context, but they still struggle to generate output with that same level of sophistication.
So what's the big takeaway here? What's the one thing to remember? It's this. Building the next generation of powerful, reliable AI is changing. It's becoming less about a race to have the single biggest, smartest model, and more about being the smartest, most thoughtful architect of that model's information world.
Which leaves us with a really interesting question to chew on. As these AI systems get smarter and their context becomes richer and more dynamic, who is really engineering the final outcome? Is it still us, the human designers? Or is it becoming the AI as it starts to shape its own environment and, in a way, engineer its own context? Definitely something to think about.